everybody, this is Andrew, also known as Nature Man. Today I'm going to be giving you guys a tour of my propagation room. I have a lot of plants in my propagation room. I got this shelving I keep near the window, and the ones that aren't near the window are low light plants. In the winter time there'll be a lot more plants in here, just because I have some houseplants and annuals I keep outside, and I sometimes overwinter a few tropicals and houseplants in here, so I don't have to, buy more next summer. But it is the middle of July, so I'll just show you what I've got in here right now. This big fiddly fig is a really cool tree. I bought it at a local nursery, so it's grown very well. And first I'll show you what's on this shelf. I have some grow lights right here, where I'm growing some succulents that I've rooted from cuttings. Got a cool jade plant, some cacti, some Algerian ivy, variegated Algerian ivy. It's really neat. Some parlor palm, it's a dwarf palm. I got a variegated Madagascar dragon plant. It's a type of Dracaena. Then I've got some spider plant with a parlor palm. Then I've got some macho ferns. Really love macho fern. I'm trying to grow these to get them a little bigger. Then I'm going to put them in one big pot. That's kind of my end goal. Got a few other Dracaenas. Some orchids here that are not in bloom. Yeah, and then I have some more spider plants down there. This is a little peace lily and some wire vine. I just adore wire vine. I'm going to probably use that as like a wall planter and have it droop down from a wall planter. That's my goal. Some little more spider plants I've rooted from the spider babies. I got some little palm seedlings. These are California fan palm. Got a ficus and a little jade back there by the edge of the window. I have a little cactus planter. You can see it's about to bloom right now. Should be blooming here in the next few days. Yeah, it's an idea I came up with. This is a ficus I am trying to grow into a tree. It's called a standard. So I keep forming the leader. Yeah, it's gotten really large. So I'll need to stake it with a little bamboo pole, but I'm trying to make it a tree. It's a variegated ficus. I got some Petrocroton, and I'm also trying to form them into a tree form, into a standard. It'll probably take me several years. More awesome house plants. I use these in house decor around my home. A variegated rubber ficus. A little dwarf umbrella plant. An actual banana tree, a parlor palm. And I'll show you these. This is a needle palm. They're needle palm seedlings. Needle palm is the world's most cold-tolerant palm tree. It's known to withstand temperatures down to nearly 10 below zero. So I thought that's pretty cool. These are some more little succulents I'm growing near my window. Now I'm really interested in this one. This is what they call a fishbone cactus. It's one of the few cacti that don't need any sunlight to grow. So it makes a perfect houseplant. You can grow it in an area with low light like you would, let's say, a peace lily or a sansevieria. It's called a fishbone cactus. I'll show you a more mature specimen in just a second. I have a little peace lily down here and sansevieria. I got a little mini fiddly fig right here. Actually, I just got it today at my local nursery. So yeah. And then I have a little austral gem bird's nest fern. It's a seedless kind, so it won't produce the spores. Yeah, it's austral gem bird's nest fern. I've had it for over a year now. Really neat foliage. The foliage, it literally feels like plastic. It's so ornamental. It's just a perfect houseplant. It doesn't need as much water as most other ferns. Probably give it as much water as you would like a Boston fern. More succulents here under my grow light. Try to get a good angle here. Let's see. All my succulents I've been rooting. Some I purchased, some of them I've rooted from cuttings. My nice ZZ plant. Yeah, I've had this for about a year and a half now, and these two branches are grown in the past couple months. Cool succulent vine I've been growing. And this is my big monster spider plant. I have, oh gosh, dozens of spider babies growing all over. I can grow those. Right now I'm just kind of growing it for looks. Yeah. And there you have it. There's my propagation room, my little grow plant room. Got these shelvings at Lowe's for $20 each. Very cheap. Like each shelf is just $20. It's not cheap, but it's, I've seen some really expensive wooden shelving for hundreds of dollars. So, much more reasonable. Yeah. Then if we walk down here, I'm going to show you in this room here. This is a fishbone cactus, the one I was telling you about earlier. I've been growing this guy for almost 2 years now. No direct sunlight, just very low light conditions. And I water it about probably once a month, once every 3 weeks. It's wet right now because I just transplanted it, so it needed to be watered. But either way, you can kind of see. You can kind of see the decor, how it's designed, kind of growing on a bookshelf like that. It's one of my favorites. It's one of the only cacti that doesn't need direct sun. It's really neat. Then I have a Marble Queen pothos vine up here. I just love that variegated texture. Yeah. Well, hope you all enjoyed my awesome video. This is Nature Man signing off. Bye. Well, these are all my plants, my little propagation area. These are either plants I've purchased or I've propagated myself, either from seeds or from cuttings. Camera. Okay. This here is a Gold Rider Leyland Cypress. While Leyland Cypress is not fully hardy through USDA Zone 5, it has full hardiness to about Zone 5B, and then marginally hardy in Zone 5A, where severe winter burn or death is likely. I live in a Zone 5B 6A location here in Indianapolis, right on the border to 6A. I'm technically 5B, but 20 minutes down the road, that's 6A. So, so just as a little perspective. So our coldest winter average, on average, is between 10 and 15 below zero. Fahrenheit, of course. And so this is a golden version of the Leyland Cypress. It is hardy to about 10 below zero and will survive colder than that, but you can expect winter damage. I am almost 100% positive this could survive 15 below zero, but that's when you'd begin to get winter damage, and has the slim possibility of surviving down to 20 below, but you'd have excessive winter damage to the point where it would die back almost to the bottom, and you'd have to get like sucker growth in order for it to revive. So if you are planting in a Zone 5 location, you must plant in a protected spot that is protected from cold winter winds. Usually winds blow west to east, so you might want to plant on an eastern side, so it's on your house or a building, so it is protected from the cold winter winds. That is a necessity. Now, you better look up where you live, because it is different depending on where you live, where the winds blow, so I would get that checked out. So yeah, and it's hardy in USDA zones 5B through 10. That means zone 10, that's like down in Florida, so it's very resilient. It's one of the few conifers that'll successfully grow in the deep south. So it is gorgeous. You can have the beautiful gold and yellow needles. The next plant I'm going to be showing you is ARP rosemary. Now you might be thinking, hold on, rosemary is not a perennial, at least in the northern areas. It's a perennial like in zones 8 or 9 maybe. Well, not this one. And this is a rosemary. This is ARP rosemary. It is a perennial to zone 6. It is considered the most cold hardy rosemary that exists. It's been known to withstand temperatures down to 5 below zero without any winter damage, and down to 10 below zero with major winter damage, but possibly surviving. So it's fully hardy to zone 6B and marginally hardy to zone 6A. Now, where I live, I of course either have to give it winter protection or bring it inside. For example, we had here in Indianapolis last January, the low temperature dipped to 13 below zero at the coldest, which was on January 31st of 2019. I had one planted in the ground over here with my lavender. It survived without any winter burn. It had dipped down to 5 below zero, no winter burn, but when we got to 13 below zero, the whole thing died. So it gives me an idea as well. So if you have an area where temperatures will get colder than 5 below zero, you'll either need to bring it inside or put in like some kind of microclimate. Either way, it's a good option to experiment farther north. Hardy in zones 6B through 11. Next, we have the Danica arborvitae, very similar to the Hetz midget. In fact, there might be very little difference between them, except this one might even be smaller than the Hetz midget. It's considered the smallest growing arborvitae shrub, topping out at only 2 foot tall and 2 foot wide after 20 years of growth, and is expected to live for more than 40 years. Matures to only 2 foot tall, 2 foot wide in 20 years, requires no pruning, but will need a lot of water until it's established, especially if you aren't getting rain frequently when you first plant. It will need to be watered every day for the first few weeks after you plant it if you aren't getting constant rain. Once it's established, it has good drought tolerance, but doesn't mind moist soils. Next, we have the Japanese sedge. It's the variegated Japanese sedge. It is a perennial to zone 6 through 9. Some sources will say zone 5. Personally, I find that very hard to believe. I have successfully grown it here unprotected, but once we got one really bad winter, they died and didn't come back. So you can expect them to be hardy to 5 to 10 below zero, but once temperatures get colder than 10 below zero, they will die and will not come back. And they are semi-evergreen in northern zones and evergreen in southern zones. So if you live in a zone 5 or 6, it'd be best to plant it in a microclimate or in a protected location. The next one I have is a needle palm. You might be saying, wait a minute, you can't grow a palm tree anywhere north. But in fact, you can. This is the world's most cold-tolerant palm tree in existence. It has been known to withstand temperatures down to 10 below zero when established. Now, a young small plant like this that isn't even in the ground, it would probably die when it gets near zero. But if you have there has actually been a specimen in Knoxville, Tennessee in the winter of 1985 where it dipped down to 20 below zero, no winter damage, and it was perfectly fine. So once established, these things are very hardy. I've experimented with them before, and I've been able to keep them unfazed down to 8 below zero. So I will likely be keeping this outside, and then once it gets below zero, I will bring it inside until it's a more mature specimen. But that's definitely something to consider experimenting in a more northern zone. Next we have here is the dwarf blue leaf Arctic willow. I grew this from a cutting about a year ago. It's a dwarf willow shrub. It has a deep blue greenish leaf. Tops out at 4 foot tall, 4 foot wide at maturity. It's perfect for any wet spot, like literally standing water. It is intolerant of drought and intolerant of shade. It needs full sun and wet soils or moist soils. Now, for example, if you live in the southeast or midwest where, well, hold on a second, I don't have a completely low-lying area or area near a river, but our soils are always moist, then you could plant it there and then just give it a light watering during a drought. But if you live in a desert climate, then it needs to be near a river or it'll need to be in standing water. Hardy in zones 4 through 8. Next we have a Monrovia edition. Despite the proven winner's pot, this is a Monrovia plant. I just had to transplant it into a different pot. This is the green tower boxwood. It is a Monrovia plant, not a proven winner's. Still sorry about that. I had to repot it. The green tower boxwood is a good alternative to a sky pencil holly for zone 5 gardeners. Because sky pencil holly is only hardy to zone 6. It's a very columnar boxwood growing to about 9 foot tall, 2 foot wide at maturity. That's right, only 2 foot wide by 9 foot in height. It doesn't brown out in winter like other boxwoods, and it's the perfect hedging or screening plant, or simply just right in front of your house. It is a gorgeous specimen. Hardy in zones 5 through 9. Green tower boxwood by Monrovia. Next we have here is a ginkgo biloba seedling. I grew this from a seed. It's a ginkgo tree. Now this will be a tall tree eventually. Ginkgo biloba grows in USDA zones 4 through 8 and will top out anywhere between 40 and 60 feet tall by 10 to 40 foot wide depending on your specimen. There are fastigiate forms that don't spread more than 10 feet and some that will get more than 40 feet. Next we have is the sky pencil holly for you more southern gardeners, zones 6 through 9. That is in zone 5. I have been growing this because I put it in a microclimate over the winter, my Indiana location. Sky pencil hollies will grow to be about 12 foot tall by about 2 to 3 foot wide at maturity. Hardy to about 5 to 10 below zero. It will suffer winter damage when temperatures get down near 10 below zero. And it is a broadleaf evergreen just like the boxwood. Next we have here is a euonymus fortunii, the emerald and gold winter creeper. Now this is considered a noxious weed, highly invasive in most states, in pretty much east of the Mississippi, and has become illegal in many states, and actually is about to become illegal in Indiana effective April of 2020. So I'm simply using this as an example. So if you live in an area where it is illegal, do not plant, and please check with local regulations and see if it's invasive where you are, as you might want to have an alternative. But this is an evergreen vine, hardy in zones 4 through 9, and this has a beautiful golden, here I'll see if I can, deep golden edges with green center. It's absolutely gorgeous variegated color, adds color throughout the winter. Emerald and gold euonymus. Next we have a green giant arborvitae. I grew this from a cutting. Green giant arborvitaes are not like the emerald green. They get fairly large. It will get about 30 to 40 foot tall by about 15 to 20 foot wide at maturity, and really just a good screening area for large areas, or you don't want to have as many trees planted together because you can space them apart, and it's great for large areas to screen. Absolutely love it. It's hardy in zones 5 through 9, a little bit less hardy than the emerald green, which is hardy to zone 3. So this is only hardy to 20 below zero. If you have winters that get colder than minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit, it will die. So you might want to think of an alternative. But if you are from zones 5A to 9B, it is a good option to plant. 8B, sorry, not 9B. Green giant arborvitae, and it's very soft, just like the emerald green, except it gets a much larger option for a larger screening, like a larger area. Next we have the weeping pussy willow. You may have seen them in the springtime. They get like it's the stems of the little white fuzz on them. They're absolutely gorgeous in the spring. And this is a weeping form. This only grows to 6 foot tall by about 3 to 4 foot wide at maturity. And it's a grafted. That's why it stays dwarf, is because it's grafted. You can see the graft mark right there. Absolutely a gorgeous specimen. Hardy in USDA zones 4 through 9. Salix caprea, the weeping pussy willow.